Good evening. Tonight's Lenox Selectboard is Wednesday, November 16th at 6 p.m. here in Town Hall. This is our regular 6 p.m. meeting. I have no announcements from the chair, but I would entertain acceptance of the minutes of November 9th.
So I'll move to approve the minutes of November 9th meeting of the Lenox Select Board.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. On to citizens' open forum. Seeing none in attendance other than our friend Clarence Fantow, who's also recording the meeting, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Seeing none, we'll move on to general business. We're going to look at approving the DPW FY 23-25 collective bargaining agreement. The entire agreement was in your packet. If anybody has any questions, I'm sure we can pass them along to Mr. Ketchen, and he'd be happy to answer any questions with regard to the contract. Otherwise, Mr. Ketchen, would you be so kind as to outline some of the highlights?
So it reflects the broader collective bargaining goals that the board has sought to achieve with all the unions, and also mostly consistent with the contract settled by the school department for the teachers union. It's there is the term is 3 years, so fiscal year 23, 24, and 25. Again, this is the contract that governs all the Teamster members at the DPW. So that's everyone at DPW, highway, water, wastewater, cemetery, with the exclusion of the superintendent of public works and the office manager here at Town Hall. And it also includes the maintenance staff at the community center. So, 3-year contract. We're looking at cost of living adjustments of 3%, 2.25%, 2.25% for FYs 23, 24, 25, respectively. We're also looking at approving increases to uniform, work gear that the union members purchase. We're looking at inclusion of the parental leave policy that was included in the teacher's contract that we've put into the firefighter's contract. It's in this contract. It's also going to be in the police contract that I hope to bring you next week, which we believe we've just recently settled as of yesterday. There's somewhat of a unique provision related to weather events during normal work hours that preclude the non-DPW staff from being able to report to work. There's a provision in that because the DPW staff during weather events have to be at work. So there's an attempt to address the difference in duties there. And there, I think that is just and adding Juneteenth as a formally recognized holiday in the contract. I think that covers everything.
Any comments?
Yeah, I think it's a fair contract. You know, all the things that we're giving, everybody's getting, and that's what we strive for, to do it as fair as we can. So, no, it's good. I'm happy with it.
I thought it was fine. I think the major terms are all fine. I had one question. Have I missed this in our other organized labor contracts that we have this clause where if any other bargaining unit working for the town of Lenox receives a different wage, then they have the right to reopen negotiations?
Yeah. So that's been in this agreement for, gosh, a long time, and it's related primarily to COLA, which I don't think will be at issue.
But I don't remember it.
Yeah, I don't believe it's in the. I'd have to go back and check. I don't believe it's in the fire or the police contract. And in any event, I think there's some debate as to whether or not it's even enforceable. It's never been a problem for us because we don't. But it's what's known as a Me Too provision.
I get that,
And,
but I
yeah,
haven't
but
seen
Me Too provisions are not, my knowledge of them may be somewhat dated, but at one time, I know that they were not enforceable in municipal contract law. That may still be the case, but in any event, it has not been an issue, up to this point, at least, so.
All seems reasonable to me.
Okay.
Great. All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve the DPW contract.
Okay, so I'll move to approve the contract between the town of Lenox and the Teamsters Local 404 for fiscal years 2023 through 2025 as negotiated and presented by the town manager.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great, okay. On to discussion and review of the special town meeting draft warrant.
Before we dive in, there is a copy of
Okay.
the contract that folks can sign, and it's already been signed by the stewards of the bargaining unit. Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. It's an important thing. Get our signatures on that so we can make sure that is all wrapped up.
Do you want me to just walk through?
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
If you would walk through it, I would be very appreciative.
So our last conversation accurately, I think one of the questions, well, there's two questions remaining. We're currently still carrying a placeholder for a zoning bylaw amendment on wireless communication facilities from the planning board. Since that's not been voted and approved, it's my understanding they're intending to finalize that, I believe, early next week. I want to say Monday. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is with respect to the order of the articles. Some articles will generate more discussion than others. And there's the human tendency to, I think everyone should stay for the entire town meeting and participate on every article. Not everyone has that same philosophy, so how we order the articles, to accommodate our citizen legislators was a discussion that we wanted to have at this meeting. So I can walk through the current order, or we can just dive in, because order-wise, it's not substantially different from what you saw last week. There are some minor wording changes relative to the CPC discussion that took place since our last meeting, and very minor wording changes recommended by town council and by bond council. But nothing changing the substance of any of the articles in terms of
I had
scope.
some wording suggestions for you. Those aren't here, correct?
They are not here.
I just want to look at Article, it seems to me that we should look at Article 10, which discusses relabeling the sawmill property from community housing purposes to general municipal purposes, that perhaps we should approve that
You're
before.
talking about 3.
No, Article 10. It's in here is Article 10, and that's the draft that Mr. Pettit had this evening.
I'm sorry, then,
No, that's the,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, because we're just
Sorry.
it's Article 3.
It is Article 3? Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I'm jumping around too much. Yep, you're right. You're right, Neil. Okay, great. That's all I wanted to see, is that one was before the public safety building. I'm happy.
it's where it should be.
Yeah,
for us.
exactly.
I'm asking why it's before the public safety building. What if town does not have an appetite to build a public safety building?
Well, still, I think it's a good idea that we have that land for general municipal purposes, because it broadens our ability to do a number of things with that property, in my mind.
By the same token,
A substantial chunk of funds that are available for any number of things, paving, repairs to the library, what have you, and sticks them in the CPC buckets.
So the thinking is that if, hypothetically speaking, if the public safety building were to not pass, would we have a municipal purpose for the land, or should it remain in housing until we do have a municipal
Where
purpose?
it remains is understandably debatable,
Yeah.
but if, and I don't expect this to be the case, but if we don't have an appetite as a town for the public safety building, but we buy back this land, so to speak, what are we gonna do, sell it?
I think Neil's got a good point. You know, I was always saying we should do this first, but, you know, looking
I also think
at
it
it like
can be-
that, I mean, I think that public safety is going to pass. I'm just saying, I firmly believe it will. I hope it will. But if it doesn't, then yeah, maybe there's another use we would have for that piece of property, but it's too soon for us to, we'd have to analyze that and figure that out.
Or if you were to change the use, so in that same vein, if you were to change the use, you might change it to a use that had another funding stream other than general fund free cash, right? So why spend
Yeah.
general fund free cash when, you know, if there were, again, hopefully this is all hypothetical and academic, because the public safety building will pass.
I think so too.
But if it doesn't, why?
So-
But I guess-
Something in the end should be done with that land, but if the public safety building can't be built there, then, okay, we'll take 6 months and we'll figure this out. We'll do it at the next town meeting.
And it might not
Pull it right
necessarily.
Yeah,
And that's open space and recreation.
Yeah, there could be a million different things,
Right.
and different funding sources also, so.
I think another reason for moving it in my mind was, we've been talking about the warrant for a long time, so we're familiar with everything that we're going to talk about at town meeting. But I think a lot of people process this one at a time, and if they're not entirely familiar with everything that we're presenting, wait a minute, why are you doing this? Oh, it's coming later, the
Yeah.
reason for why you're doing this.
Yeah,
And that's my only thought on that, but, and Chris, we don't have to wordsmith it, but I thought it was repetitive, so if you look at my edits, it was
Yeah.
basically just that, after you describe the land, I would say, you know, currently held for community housing purposes, blah, 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 and then to the town of Lenox acting, we don't need twice the to the town of Lenox acting by and through its board of selectmen.
Okay,
That's just edits.
okay.
Yeah, you could look at it a couple different ways, this one, how they flip-flop, and if, I think it's all gonna be fine and go along the way it should either way, but, no, I think it's gonna go along fine if it's done afterwards. I mean, I doubt we're gonna pass the public safety building and then not approve this.
No.
That's
Right.
pretty unlikely. I mean, there's a 1,000,000,000 chance, but I doubt it, so,
I would think so.
yeah.
I think if this is, I think 3 is to public safety as 10 is to CPC. It's just a bookkeeping necessity once you talk about the big thing,
Right.
right? So CPC's article, currently 9, is we want to spend money through CPC to do these things, and 10 just has to authorize the board to make the purchase because CPC doesn't make the purchase. There's nothing substantive about 10 other than we have to actually tell ourselves that we're allowed to do it. But, I mean, I think the far bigger thing is where we put wireless vis-à-vis the big capital questions.
Yeah, that's the, and I can see it either way. I can see it at the beginning where it is, and I can see it further on the meeting. I can really and truly see it both ways. And honestly, I don't have a strong opinion about it one way or the other. I think the meeting's gonna flow along. It's gonna be what it's gonna be, and, you know, as I say, I can see it both ways, but I'm not too worried about it either way.
Well, my rationale, I mean, I'll tell you the order that I had suggested to Chris, but my rationale for having it later was that we've already been told a couple of times by some constituents that they feel doing anything of substance in November/December is, oh, it's not representative, there's not enough voters, etc. Now, we demonstrated that we didn't feel that was the case because the numbers are very close to the same. But we've also seen that this is likely to be the short-term housing item of this particular meeting. Like, everyone's going to be there for that and amped up about it. And as happened in short-term housing, as happened to ourselves here at select board meeting nights, people come and they want to tell us what they think about wireless, and then they leave for the rest of the meeting while we're talking about other stuff. So I want as many people.
Yeah, right.
I feel like it's important to have as many voters in the theater voting on spending potentially $65 million on 2 capital projects as possible. And I just foresee, I can't say that I know, that there's going to be a ton of people with signs and pamphlets and everything about wireless, and then that gets done, and they're either pissed off or happy, and then half of them leave, and then we don't have as big of a voter pool to talk about things that we've been talking about for 10 years in terms of spending town money.
I would agree with that.
I mean, you know, the last couple of times.
They're gonna stay for the wireless, and ostensibly, we can get these other items done relatively quickly with proper explanation and understanding that, you know, we have been going through the planning and engineering phases, and this, you know, with the knowledge that this is gonna be a pretty substantial lift for the town, and we've been waiting for the right time to do it, and now is the time. So,
Where would you guys put it? At the end?
not necessarily the end, but I think we could put it back toward, you know,
The middle, somewhere.
yeah, maybe the middle article, just to keep a few things for people to stick around for. Maybe as Article 8. I mean, because frankly, I mean, I think that the paving thing is, again, sort of a housekeeping type of an item. It took a substantial sum of money. So,
Yeah, it's not controversial. or
right,
anything.
right. So perhaps we could flip-flop 8 and 2.
Well, one has to stay 1, we know that.
Right.
I think CPC is a slam dunk, so
Yeah, so those can
I'd
stay
put that
at the
up
end.
front. I'd put, you know, immediately follow CPC with the Article 10 that's about just authorizing us to make the purchase. I think Puppy Mills is easy. I think noise is easy. I think paving's easy. I'd put all those in the beginning to get the meeting flowing and moving.
Sounds good to me.
I'm writing fast and furious, so.
1 is 1.
1 is 1, yep. 9 is 2.
Yep. 10 is 3. 6 is 4.
6 is 4.
7 becomes 5. 8 becomes 6.
Okay.
And then we could either do wireless and then the big asks, or the big asks and then wireless. It's up to you guys.
Well, if the thought process is you want to keep a full house, you better do it last then, or better do these 2 before it.
Okay, so then, if that was the case, then 5 becomes 7, 4 becomes, 4 becomes 8, 3 becomes 9, and 2 becomes 10.
All right.
I'm sorry, what number is 5? 5 is really 7. Yes.
Five becomes.
The noise
Yeah,
becomes
go.
5.
Yeah.
And 6 is what?
6 is,
Paving,
8?
6 is 8, yes.
Yep.
7 is 5. 8 is 4. 3 is 9, and 2 is 10. Sounds good to me. That's what I had written down initially as well.
So in a town that has, been able to go through a 16-article annual town meeting where we're including a $28 million budget in under 60 minutes, the fact that wireless comes last would hardly be considered a deterrent to attendance, so.
I think it's
yeah.
gonna flow along fast enough so that somebody's not gonna throw it out there that, oh, you stuck us at the end, we had to wait for hours. You might have to wait for 45 minutes,
Right.
in reality.
well, in many ways, it's less disruptive.
Correct.
When we had to use 2 rooms,
Right.
the year that we did the short-term rentals, so many people left that we were disrupted from moving to the next thing for like 10 minutes. And we weren't done with the meeting.
Yeah, and it is very distracting when people get up and leave in the middle of a meeting.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
very
Yeah, it's like-
counterproductive.
Well, and the Dublin has pretty long rows, so, if you want to leave and you're not at the end of the roads.
Right. You're being trampled. Yeah. No, I think,
Yeah, I don't mean to be cynical, but, I mean, the same folks that have been very vocal about their opinions on wireless have come to us, and then they stand up and leave and don't watch the rest of anything that we do.
true enough. True enough. Yeah, I think that works. I think that works. And so I know planning board met last night. And I presume they're going to be posting for their public hearing.
The public hearing is posted and
Okay.
advertised in the
Okay.
paper of record. And then the bylaw itself is, I believe it's in very close to final form, but not formally voted, is my understanding. Okay. I wasn't at the meeting, but
Yeah, I wasn't
that's the consistent message I'm getting, so.
Great. Well, if this looks good to everybody, I guess we'll have Mr. Ketchen reorder all of it. Do we want to go through, does everybody like the wording? I presume that bond counsel is going to fix some of the language.
So bond counsel is already approved. The bond counsel likes the way it's worded
Okay,
here.
great.
So,
So aside
I'm
from,
running out of words, but yeah.
aside from Neil's edit to now Article 9.
Yeah, I want to say that either Joel Bard or Katie Klein may have drafted this. Before we remove it, just be curious if there was a reason they worded it that way. But other than that, I mean, everybody knows what it means without it. And as I was taught in more than one writing class, if it can mean the same thing without writing it, then you don't need it.
Right.
So,
But we need to check with town council.
yeah, but I think that's a sound edit, if we, unless it runs afoul of something that
Great. Is
none
there-
of us can think of.
I don't know, has there been like a code red message that's gone out stating that there's a December 8th town meeting at 7 PM?
We would wait until there's actually a warrant in for that.
Okay.
I mean, the conversation that we've had about the 17th or,
Or
the
the
8th, I mean,
8th, yeah.
and just talking about it in the terms we have you run the risk of generating confusion
Yes.
among folks. So we wouldn't put anything out advertisement-wise
Until the
until it
warrant's
was signed and
Okay,
maybe even after the ink is dry.
We do want to get word out as much as we can about this
Yeah.
meeting, because this is an important meeting.
Yes.
I said that, like every week I say that, not only for the money that we're spending, but the wireless one is a passionate issue with a lot of people in town, one way or the other. But people should be there and voice their opinion if they want it or don't want it. It's important.
Right.
Important to a lot of people, and they can't just blow it off. You gotta really get the word out there.
Definitely.
Agreed. So, can I just toss out a couple of really small things? I mean, I'm hesitant because councils and bond council have reviewed, so I don't want to make anything substantive. But on 5, for example, we're not building a new facility, technically.
The treatment?
Yeah.
No, we're not. We're upgrading.
So wouldn't we be constructing upgrades to?
Okay, yep.
I'm just trying to anticipate if anyone
That's a good-
is
that's-
gonna say,
that's true.
Wait a minute, you're building a whole new facility?
Yeah.
I mean, But, the bonding people need to say we're constructing versus upgrading, I don't know.
All right, I've got that circled, and I will ask that question.
On 7, I think this is probably unnecessary to write, because I think FEMA and other organizations can supersede our construction rules. So for example, when we've had emergency road repairs, the culvert that broke over off East Street, when we closed Hubbard Avenue for the DOT, those are some, when we put Jersey barriers down at the school around the lunch tent when COVID first hit, those are all things that happened outside of these hours.
Oh, okay, yep.
Oh, right.
I mean, I threw you some language that said something like, exceptions in the case of weather or other road damage emergencies, blah, 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 blah. But it might not be necessary because I think FEMA, it won't always be a FEMA event, but I think they can tell us.
Well, there's state and federal preemption.
Right.
That comes into play there, and, but to the extent that needs to be clarified, it should be.
Great. All right, well, with those potential modifications, this looks like a good warrant. We will wait patiently for the planning board's public hearing, and hopefully that will go well, and we'll have something to evaluate at the town meeting on December 8th with regard to a wireless bylaw.
So I think that we would propose to recast this in the way we've discussed tonight, and then have a presumably brief meeting Tuesday afternoon so that the warrant can be approved, signed, and posted and constabled to the various places that it has to be. I don't know what that verb is, but whatever it is, that has to get done. So, we could wrap that up before close of business on Tuesday if we were to meet at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
All right, so do you need any votes from us?
No,
Okay, so
not tonight.
You have marching orders, so to speak, from this
Yeah.
meeting tonight.
I've got to generate a work product that has to be acceptable to you all. And if it's not, you'll let me know at 3:01 on Tuesday afternoon, and I'll run into the room. It'll be a working meeting, and I'll make the changes that need to be made so that we can have a clean, official, legal copy to vote on, sign, seal, post, and constable. So.
And that's for November 22nd? Great. All right, so will that potentially be, well, that will be a working meeting? Okay.
3 PM on the 22nd, is that?
Yes.
And then
3 PM.
you need to-
Public meeting, right?
It would absolutely be a public.
Yeah. 3
you
PM,
need
November
turkey
22nd.
stock.
Better Tuesday than Wednesday.
Yeah.
So,
I just have to hope I'm not heading for a train at that time. But
well,
if
I mean,
it's,
you don't have to make the decision
Oh.
now in any event,
Yeah.
but we would have to make it by Friday, one way or another, so if something comes up. I mean, I will be at a, out of town at a conference tomorrow, but I'll be back in town Friday afternoon for that.
yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Wednesday works.
So if you have concerns or conflicts about a time, let myself or Mary Ellen know, so that.
So,
A Tuesday meeting would need to be posted by the appropriate time on Friday. A Monday meeting would have to be posted for an appropriate time tomorrow. But I would recommend against a Monday meeting because I believe the planning board is attempting to finalize their warrant article that day. And it wouldn't, the sequencing wouldn't work for us to be putting an article on an approved warrant before it's been approved by the planning board.
so you're.
Sorry to be bureaucratic, I just don't
You're
want,
fine.
I don't want to mess this up.
So you're out of town tomorrow, but would you be able to?
Mary Ellen will be.
Give Mary Ellen a note to poll us to make sure that we can all attend a 3 PM 22nd meeting, and if not, does 1 PM work or 5 PM work or whatever work, so that we can make sure that we do it?
Right. That day, yeah.
Because it sounds like we don't want to push it forward to Monday, and we can't wait till Wednesday.
Right.
Well, you could, but presumably with the holiday, you don't want to. Yeah, that could be a faulty assumption.
Oh, no, for me, that's true, but
Yeah, no, I don't want to really wait until Wednesday. Tuesday's better.
Okay.
I'll just force the traveling person to not have me traveling at 3 o'clock on Tuesday.
he can get on his bike and get a head start.
No, this would be a child coming from New York City.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. All right, well, if that's everything, our next regular meeting will be Wednesday, December 7th at 6 PM. And I would entertain a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.